Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We're diving into a masterclass on a gardening skill that is, honestly, a total game changer. We're talking about blackcurrant pruning. Did you know that the secret to a bountiful blackcurrant harvest lies in mastering the art of pruning? Stay tuned to uncover the precise timing and techniques to ensure your plants thrive. Seriously, whether you've got just one little potted bush or a massive garden row, the sheer volume of fruit you get is directly tied to the cuts you make. Okay, let's dive into this. Today's agenda is packed. We'll kick off with an intro to blackcurrant pruning, pinpoint the optimal timing, and get into the actual pruning techniques and tools. Then, we'll tackle some advanced rejuvenation strategies, address common pruning issues, and wrap up with frequently asked questions. Let's start with Section 1, Intro to Blackcurrant Pruning. This is literally the foundation for plant health and massive fruit yields. Now, you might be wondering why we even need to prune so heavily in the first place. Well, if you've ever grown red currants or white currants, you'd probably assume black currants follow the exact same rules. No way. Red currants produce their fruit on 2 to 3-year-old older wood. But black currants? They are a completely different beast. They produce their best fruit almost exclusively on 1-year-old young wood. That means out with the old and in with the new. We literally have to prune black currants heavily to constantly force the plant to generate new, young, productive stems. When you embrace this heavy pruning, your bush basically acts like a hard-working little factory. Regular pruning opens up the dense center of the plant, which drastically increases the sunlight hitting the core. It also improves air circulation, which, by the way, is your absolute best defense against mildew and fungal diseases. Most importantly, it stops the plant from wasting energy, keeping useless old vegetation alive. It funnels all that glorious energy straight into fruit production, all while keeping a nice open shape so you can actually reach the berries.
Moving right along to Section 2, Optimal Timing for Pruning.
Knowing exactly when to grab your shears is critical, and it really comes down to the weather and the plant's natural life cycle. The absolute golden window, your primary dormant winter pruning season, is between November and March. During this time, the bush is completely asleep, the leaves have fallen off, and you can see the exact structure of the branches. Come April to May, the plant enters its spring growing period. June brings the summer bloom and fruit set, and by July to August, you're just harvesting those dark, juicy berries and observing which branches actually performed the best. But please, keep this in mind, you absolutely must avoid major pruning in the summer. Hacking off large amounts of wood while the bush is actively growing and trying to ripen fruit causes massive stress. It weakens the plant and literally wastes the fruit you've been waiting for. Reserve any summer cuts strictly for emergency disease removal, or maybe just a tiny bit of minor thinning. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, Pruning Techniques and Tools. All right, the hands-on how-to part. Before you even step foot in the garden, you've got to have the right gear. Your essential toolkit should include sharp pruning shears, or secateurs for the smaller branches, but because blackcurrant stems can get super thick, you'll definitely want some heavy-duty loppers too. Grab gardening gloves, a sharpening stone to keep those blades crisp, and crucially, a disinfectant. Cleaning your tools between cuts is vital to prevent spreading diseases around your garden. Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark visual contrast between the wood you want to remove and the wood you want to keep. Old wood, which is generally anything over 3 years old, is thicker, super dark, has this rough splitting bark, and usually has some green algae or moss on it. It's totally past its prime. Young wood, on the other hand, is much lighter. It has a smooth texture, sports a really nice rusty brown hue, and is highly productive. Your goal is to get rid of the gnarly dark wood to make room for the sleek, rusty brown wood. Keep this number in mind, 45. Whenever you're making your cuts, especially taking out those thick old stems down low to the ground, you have to cut at a 45-degree angle. Why? Well, a flat cut just lets rainwater sit right on top of the stump, which quickly leads to rot that travels straight down into the root system. A 45-degree angle ensures the water just rolls right off. Here is another incredibly crucial number for you, the 1/3 rule. For an established bush, your goal during the winter dormancy is to remove up to 1/3 of the oldest wood every single year. This creates a steady, continuous cycle of renewal, making sure you always have a perfect balance of strong roots and young fruit-bearing stems. Let's put it all together into 4 actionable steps. Step 1, always start by inspecting the bush and taking out any dead, broken, or diseased wood. Step 2, find the thickest, darkest stems and cut about 1/3 of them right down at the base. Step 3, Look for branches that are growing horizontally or crossing and rubbing against each other, and remove the weaker of the two. And step 4, step back and shape the remaining 8 to 12 strong young stems into an open goblet or cup shape. This is what guarantees that maximum airflow and sunlight penetration. Let's shift gears to section 4, advanced and rejuvenation strategies. This is perfect for seasoned gardeners, or if you've just inherited a giant, tangled, neglected blackcurrant bush. Rejuvenation pruning is an aggressive rescue technique. If a bush hasn't been pruned in years and is giving you tiny, sad berries, you don't just thin it out, you cut absolutely everything back to just 20 to 30 centimeters above the ground. Yeah, it feels brutal, and yes, you will miss out on fruit for 2 seasons, but it perfectly resets the plant's life cycle, forcing a massive surge of brand new, vigorous growth straight from the roots. The real-life impact of doing this is staggering. A neglected bush is dense, dark in the center, has terrible air circulation, and gives a tiny yield. But a rejuvenated bush, once it bounces back, it'll feature 8 to 12 strong young stems, that beautiful open goblet shape, and can yield a staggering 10 to 15 pounds of fruit. It is absolutely worth the wait. Moving on to section 5, addressing common pruning issues. Even with the best techniques, nature sometimes throws a curveball. Let's look at the most frequent problems you might run into. Overpruning can temporarily reduce your yield, while underpruning creates those dense, disease-prone bushes. But you've also got to watch out for biological threats. Big bud mites are microscopic pests that live inside dormant buds, causing them to swell up abnormally. Powdery mildew leaves this gross gray fungal coating on the leaves. And of course, avian invaders. Birds absolutely love your blackcurrants just as much as you do. So, the crucial point is knowing exactly how to solve these issues. First, if you see mildew, improve your airflow by pruning out the center of the bush. Good air circulation is your best fungicide. Second, during your winter prune, if you spot those abnormally round, swollen buds, pick them off and destroy them immediately to break the big bud mite life cycle. Finally, to protect your harvest from birds, drape some taut netting over the bushes right before the fruit starts to ripen. Finally, let's head into section 6, frequently asked questions. We want to make sure no common concern is left unanswered, especially for our new growers. One question we get a lot is how to treat a brand new bush versus an old one. If you just bought a bare root blackcurrant bush and planted it, you actually need to cut all the stems down to just 1 or 2 buds above ground level immediately. It feels crazy, but nurseries leave the stems long just for shipping. Cutting them down forces the plant to establish roots and push up strong new shoots. For mature bushes, like we've learned, just follow the 1/3 rule during winter dormancy. As we wrap up this masterclass, a quick note. This explainer is for informational purposes only. Always consult a local gardening expert for advice tailored to your specific region and conditions. Climate, soil, and local pests can vary wildly, so local knowledge is literally your best friend. Like, comment, and subscribe for more gardening tips. Share your own pruning experiences and successes in the comments section. Seriously, I love reading about your garden wins. We've covered the why, the when, and the exactly how of blackcurrant pruning today. You now have the knowledge to turn a tangled mess into a highly productive fruit factory. So I'll leave you with this. What is the one overgrown bush in your garden that is just begging for a fresh start this winter? Get those secateurs sharpened and go find out. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy pruning.